Alright everyone, I'm here to give you my Breaking Bad review, and this is Season 2, Episode 6, and it's called Sunset, and it came out on April 25th, 2010. And this was actually a really good episode. It kind of starts off slow at first, you know, you have to get into it. And I didn't feel like it started off really slow, but it feels like it does kind of start off slow but then at the end it really picks up. So the episode kicks off with this guy, Steve. He's like a police officer. And he has to go check on not Mrs. Donahue, what's her name? She had like a weird name, but I don't remember what her name was. But he has to go check on this woman, because I guess her daughter died, and you haven't seen her since then. So he goes to scale out her house. And you see someone like creep into the house like you would in a horror movie. And people are probably thinking, why does he keep walking? Why does he keep... you know, doing this? He's being an idiot for just not leaving. Well, he kind of has to stay because it's his job. But then he finds the woman dead. He finds her corpse, and he grabs out his gun. And we see one or two ghost cousins, I don't really know their names yet, come out eating like an apple, and he makes him put his hands up, and he does. And he tells him to get on his knees, but he doesn't think he's understanding what he's saying. And then, but from behind, the other one, he kills him with an axe and murders him. And that was how the episode started. I thought it was great. Great setup. We haven't even seen... I think it's been 2 episodes since I've seen these guys. So I like that they kept them off like TV. Like, didn't feature them really much, because I think it would have gotten stale if you had kept featuring them. And they do more with them later. But I really enjoyed this. It was a great scene. And I really like these guys, like I said before. They're mysterious. They don't normally talk. They look identical. So I like these guys. So then the episode comes back after going through the theme song. And Skylar calls Walter about the divorce. And she's wondering, well, how are they going to tell Walter Jr.? And Walter says, well, we can, he already knew it was going to happen anyways, because he didn't really seem happy with the relationship, so he already knew it was going to happen. So I guess she kind of agrees. And then she talks about how he can still see Walter Jr. And she also noticed that on the form he put down that he's going to be paying for like health support, education, and all of that. And she doesn't want Walter using the money that he's making from meth. She wants him to use the money that that he's actually getting from probably his job. And Walter says, well, that money's been paying our bills for the last 6 months. And then I think I think either she hung up or he hung up, because I think that was the last thing that he... Well, he hung up because he was buying a house, and he buys the house exactly the way it is. Normally, no one, I don't think, does that, but whatever. And then what happens next? Then they show they go to Polo's, and those two Tuco's cousins walk in, and as Gus is teaching like the manager how to use a machine, and he sees him walk in. And he gets like concerned. And then Jesse is showing Badger and Skinny Pete the meth he created. And it's like better than they think his name's they think Walter's name's Eisenberg, so they call him Eisenberg. And they think it's great, so Jesse offers them to get back together, to get back in the business, and they're just going to keep it simple. They're not going to do what they were doing before that caused Combo to get killed. And they agree, so they're going to do it. So they need the supplies. He's going to get the stuff for the RV and all of that. So they agree, but we see Hank is watching them. So that isn't a good thing. And then it shows Walter, and it shows this montage of him getting ready for his new job. It shows him driving Walter Jr. to school, and he's going to be doing that because that's the way they can see each other. And Walter says he feels guilty, you know. That really wasn't a big scene. And then he goes to his meth lab, and we meet this new guy. His name's Gil. I don't know if it says what his actual name is. Gil something. Let me see if it tells you. No, it's Gail. It sounded like he said Gil, but it's Gail. And he's also a scientist. He's actually really qualified to do this kind of stuff. He loves chemistry. I'm not really a big chemistry geek. I was never good at chemistry. I sucked at it. So a lot of the stuff they were talking about, I obviously didn't understand what they were saying because I suck at chemistry. Just not my thing. But we find out he's been making like a new type of coffee. And when Walter took a sip of it, he says that's the best coffee he's ever had in his life. And then it shows them like a montage of them cooking the meth, and then they talk about the stuff they did to it. And Gail says he's in this field because forget why he said he's in this field. He said he's in this field because I don't remember why he said he's in the field. I think because like he couldn't do the chemistry the way he wanted to before. He lost the magic, and he quotes like a poem. I couldn't really, like understand. I just couldn't pay attention to that. So then Marie calls Hank, and she's like, "Why don't you just go arrest this guy and force him? Why don't you just go arrest Jesse and force him to give you where the RV is?" Hank says, well, it's not that simple because he hasn't shown me he even has the RV, and he hasn't just shown me that he actually has it, so I know what to work with. And Marie's like, I know someone who can give you an answer. And she has him call Walter. And when Walter realizes that he knows this, he's like shocked. So then he tries to call Jesse, but he doesn't say anything. And then he calls Saul about it, and he doesn't know what to do. He said he didn't want to. He did call Jesse about it, but he didn't want to say anything because he's afraid, like, he tapped Jesse's phone. I didn't even know you can do that still, but I guess he can. And what else? That he also probably bugged his house. And he said that they have to get rid of this RV or else he's going to get caught. Because the reason why Walter's concerned is because everything that's in there has his fingerprints for all the stuff he's touched. So it's going to be traced back to him. And then Saul says you should have planned this stuff. You could have put like a self-destruct button in there, and then it all would have been taken care of. So then Walter, Badger, and the guy that is fixing up the, I forget his name, RV, Walter says they're gonna rig it to get destroyed. And then Badger calls Jesse to tell him about it, and Jesse says, "Okay, I'll be right there." Because obviously he doesn't want to get destroyed. So then when Jesse leaves, Hank follows him. And then at Polo's again, I'm just going to mention this real quick. Those two guys are still there. And the manager is like, why don't we just kick these guys out? And Gus, I think he's a manager too, but he's a little bit higher up than the actual manager. Says, why? They're not doing anything wrong. And then later on, I'm just going to mention this now because I want to cover the next topic all at once. The manager tries to tell him that if you're not a paying customer, so you have to leave. But Gus says I can take care of this, and then he says like in Spanish that to meet him that we'll talk during sunset. To meet him somewhere during sunset. And then so yeah, Walter's getting ready to have the RV destroyed. He does like one last look at the RV, and then Jesse shows up, and he's pissed that Walter's gonna have this thing destroyed because it's his just as much. It's Jesse. Jesse thinks it's his. Jesse says that it's his just as much as it is Walt's. Yeah. And then Walter sees Hank pull up, and he's like, "You let him right to us." So then he locks the door, like closes the windows and all of that, and then Hank knocks on the door and gives like Jesse a chance to like willingly come out and surrender himself for arrest, but he doesn't do it obviously. So then the guy that owns the place where the RV is parked, he didn't say his name, says, "Do you have a warrant? You shouldn't be searching me without a warrant." And Hank says, "Well, I don't need a warrant because this is a vehicle that's containing meth." And then he says, well, this is protected by the Fourth Amendment because technically you don't know this is a vehicle. You don't know whether or not it runs. It's got a good point. Then Hank says, well, points out the bullet holes, and says that it obviously had to be on the road because it has these. And then Walter tells Jesse to say, well, how'd you know that there was bullet holes underneath the tape? So then he does it. And then he says, you shouldn't be harassing me in my RV. So then Hank says he's going to call his guys to set up, to have him sent a warrant. So then Jesse says, why don't we have to do something. Why don't we just run the RV and ram this guy? But Walter has a better idea. So then Hank gets a call from the nurse at the hospital and says that Marie's been in a car accident, and you have to car, and she's being taken to the hospital by helicopter right now, and you better get on your way. So then he rushes there, and it was all a trap. Saul sets somebody up, and then he destroys the phone that she called off of, I guess, so they can't call him back. I don't know why he didn't just do star 67, but whatever. So this person works for Saul too. So then Hank rushes to the hospital, and then it shows this. It doesn't actually. You don't actually hear what happens, but you pretty much have to know what happens. He's freaking out, and then his phone rings, and Marie's asks, "Hey, what do you want for dinner?" So then Hank's like, "Marie, are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why?" So then Hank realizes he was set up. I thought that was awesome. So then it shows the montage of the RV being destroyed, and then Gus meets up with Tuco's cousins, and he tells him he can't kill Walter White until he's done with them. But Tuco's cousins, one of them says that he's not. They don't want to wait any longer. They're getting impatient. And they say, and then Gus says, well, you say that Walter betrayed Tuco, but he didn't actually kill Tuco. And he says, yeah, it was a DEA agent. And then Gus says, well, why don't you go after him? And he says, well, he's off limits. We were told he was off limits. But then Gus, since he runs this place, the north part of Albuquerque, gives them permission. So now it looks like they're going to go after Hank. So, yeah, that was it. So that was the episode that I just watched. I thought this was great stuff. Like I said, it's a slow start. I don't really think the start's really slow, but it sets up a lot of stuff. I'm just wondering, if Walter and Jesse are going to maybe make up again. I'm not really sure. But I think there's going to be some competition. I forgot to mention this, between Walter's meth and Jesse's meth, because they're both going to be in competition. Walter has him and that scientist, Gale, and then Jesse is back with his buddies Skinny Pete and Badger. So there's going to be this big competition. And now Tuco's cousins are going to go after Hank. That should be awesome. And yeah, that's about it. I can't wait to see what happens in the next episode. So I'm probably just going to upload this and then watch the next episode if I have time. But I might have to do something else later on, so we'll see. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. You can click right here to subscribe to check out all other Breaking Bad reviews and other content on this channel. I'll be posting other videos on this channel throughout the week and next week.